everybody, and welcome to Reviews That Don't Matter with Jessica Hitt. My name is Jessica Hitt, and welcome to, well, Reviews That Don't Matter. Weird intro. Welcome to March Marvel Madness. This is the beginning of Phase 3 of the Avengers Initiative, starting with Captain America Civil War. So, here we go. Captain America Civil War is a great movie. I mean, it's basically an Avengers movie without Hulk and Thor. They're on their own little adventure because I believe Thor Ragnarok takes place at the same time as this movie. Everyone is in this movie. It's insane how many characters are in this movie and each of them get their own spotlight. I think the Russo brothers did a great job at highlighting everyone and why they are on their teams. Also, what the Russo brothers do a great job of is this is the movie where you have two sides of the Avengers head to head. And its two main leads, of course, are going to be Tony Stark, Iron Man, and Captain America Civil War, or Captain America Steve Rogers. But you never forget that this is a Captain America film. He is very obviously the lead. It's his story with Winter Soldier, Bucky, and then you also have Sam Wilson's Falcon. They're kind of like this trio that are always together until the end. Then you kind of have Tony Stark, who is an antagonist in this film, but he does a pretty good job at making his point seem correct. I think that both sides of this is wrong. I do think there is a happy medium, because let's be real, if this was real life, the government, yeah, if 117 different nations are like, dude, this is like, you guys need to like chill out and like sign the accords and all this kind of stuff. I get why they're doing that, you know? It's not like the government's a bad person or any of this stuff. But in the basis that is a Captain America film, he is an antagonist. He's not the main antagonist. That is actually Zemo, who I think is a pretty good villain in this movie. I think that his plot is very convoluted and very complex. But at the same time, at the end of the movie, I'm not really questioning all of his plot. You know, I'm thinking, I understand how we got to this end point. It's not like, well, I mean, he had to do all of this to do that, or like, I don't understand what got them to point A to point B. I understand how they got there, and I understand why. He kind of was a very sympathetic villain, especially that last little bit of monologue that he had with him and Black Panther was listening in. I thought that Daniel Bruhl just did a really good job at humanizing him, because he's not the first human villain, but he's the first one that you're like, you kind of feel bad for, honestly. By no means is he the greatest villain, but I think he's a pretty decent villain, considering with the Marvel series, I feel like you either get like the worst villains ever or pretty good ones. I wouldn't say the best ones. I do think that, I'm gonna get a lot of hate for saying this, I do think that DC, the world, the comics, the animated, the universe, they tend to have better villains. They have the most well-known villain besides Magneto in the X-Men universe. I mean, he's probably the best villain of all time. So I do think that there's that in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but I also think that the MCU, Marvel Studios, has done a great job at saying, this is a movie about superheroes. It's not a movie about the villains. It's all about the superheroes and caring about them. Their main focus isn't necessarily putting out the best villains, and I think that works for them because look at what they've done. They're in Phase 3. They've had, what, 17 movies or something like that come out, and it's, each one of them is, okay, not each one of them, but like 95% of them are really, really great. And this movie is in the great pile. I love Civil War. It's a fun movie. I think it's more fun than something like Winter Soldier. It's definitely more rewatchable. The first thing you think of in Civil War is that airport scene, which it is one of the greatest scenes probably ever filmed. It's insane how good it is. I do wonder that if that movie didn't have the airport scene, would people still think it's as great as it is? I think that people would still be really high on Civil War, but I think that scene kind of propels it into top 5 or 3 status for a lot of people. But what this movie also did is, although it had the mainstays of Iron Man, Captain America, Black Widow, Hawkeye was in this, and then of course it had the newer ones and Vision and Falcon. War Machine has been an OG, but he's really been more explored lately. And then of course you have Scarlet Witch, I believe I did not say, but it brings in two fabulous characters that I am so excited to get their own movies. One, Black Panther. The fact that we're getting a legit Black Panther movie, and the cast of Black Panther looks amazing. It has some of the heaviest hitters that they could put in that movie, done by Ryan Coogler. So excited, and I think that was a great entrance to that character, because I don't know of one person who didn't like him. He has a set of interesting powers. He has this there's something about him that, like, you know almost nothing about him, but he makes you want to know more. And so there's some characters where it's like Scarlet Witch, I don't really need to know more about her. I really like her as a character. I think she adds to it, but I don't need to go see a standalone film with Scarlet Witch. Black Panther, I'm like, give me Black Panther movie right now. Like, put it ahead of all these movies that I want to see. This is it. I want to see this movie so bad. Also, what was really strange is I feel like I got some really good chemistry between him and Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow, especially when they were at the Accord signing right before his dad gets blown up by Zemo, who is Winter Soldier in disguise. I felt a lot of chemistry in that moment. I was like, okay, I kind of want them together, but I'd like to see what they do with Black Panther movie and setting that own universe. The second guy that they introduced was good old Spider-Man. And I have not been crazy about any of the Spider-Man films, and I know that's blasphemy. The first ones with Tobey Maguire don't like. I think that the Amazing Spider-Man series was okay until it wasn't, but Tom Holland is so good in that role, and he has like, what, 15, 20 minutes of screen time really? That might be high-ing it right there. I don't think he has that much, but they introduced that world so well that it's like, yeah, I can't wait for Spider-Man Homecoming to come out this summer. It's gonna be awesome, you know? Also, what this movie does really well, with it being a Captain America film, it furthers that Winter Soldier storyline that we saw in Captain America Winter Soldier. I mean, I'm a big Sebastian Stan fan, so I love seeing that this character, the Winter Soldier, or Bucky, is just so he's still part of it. When I was really sad in the first Avenger that he died, because I didn't really know much about Captain America when that film came out, so I didn't know he was coming back as the Winter Soldier. And then when I saw the promotions for this, for Winter Soldier, I was like, yeah, he's back. And you knew, of course, he was going to be back for Civil War. And I think that they do a really great job, like other things in this movie, but that you see Steve Rogers, you understand why he really wants to save Bucky Barnes. And even though Bucky Barnes has done a lot, he was like totally hypnotized, you know, he's not a bad guy. He was a good guy put into a bad situation and was forced into doing these things. And even Tony Stark sees it at the very end, and I really like that. I like how he goes out there, he's like, I was wrong, I get it. And I also understand why he was so mad when he saw that video of Bucky killing his parents, especially his mom. We saw at the beginning of this movie when he's doing that big address and he does that sort of like visual reality type thing with his parents, and how he wishes he would have said I love you and goodbye to them instead of being the brat that he used to be. And you know that he's gotten closer to his dad after his passing, especially with Iron Man 2 and like figuring out how to not die. And that moment when he was watching that video was so emotional. And I think that Robert Downey Jr. did a great job with that part. And I understand why it was a blind rage of him wanting to kill Bucky. And I get it. And I understand why Steve Rogers took Bucky's side, because it wasn't really him. It was really just, it was almost like a robot, really, is what it was. It was just wearing his face. It wasn't him. And I think at the end of that, I think they set it up really well for with the little phone and the note to Steve, and you see that Rhodey, after being hurt from that big airport fight, is learning how to walk again. He's doing physical therapy. It's a really fun movie with a lot of emotional depth and levity to it. I think with Captain America bringing in all of these new people like Black Panther and Spider-Man and Ant-Man into the fold, even though it split up the Avengers, it also really put a lot of them together. And I think that's a really great lead up to Infinity War, which I'm very, very excited for. I think that the Russo brothers are gonna do a great job with this. I just think that the Russo brothers also just know how to handle all of these characters together, whereas a lot of people could not do that, you know? Anyway, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Also, comment down below what were your thoughts on Civil War. I loved it, of course, but I'd like to hear you guys. Also, subscribe if you have not already. I do videos Monday through Friday. This week we'll be continuing up with March Marvel Madness, and I will on Friday be doing a definitive list of the MCU movies that is completely right, and no changes will ever be made to it. Okay, bye.